Have you ever found yourself in a conversation where someone seems more interested in showing off than genuinely connecting, or felt the weight of someone's ego trying to overshadow the whole room? In our daily interactions, we all encounter people whose egos seem a little overinflated. It can be tempting to meet their arrogance with confrontation. But what if we could actually deflate these egos without a single argument or raised voice? What if we could do it calmly, maintaining our own peace and dignity? Today, I want to share some ways we can approach ego-driven behaviors, not with aggression or competition, but with calmness, respect, and subtlety. Let's start with a few simple but effective ways to address these behaviors without losing our own inner peace. Chapter 1. Prioritize inner peace over confrontation. First, let's talk about inner peace. In today's fast-paced, competitive world, we're constantly encouraged to stand up for ourselves and show who's boss. But let's ask ourselves, is getting into a confrontation actually worth our time and energy? The answer is often no. When we focus on preserving our own peace, we send a quiet but powerful message. I'm not here to play into your ego. Imagine a conversation where someone's trying to show off, perhaps talking over everyone or dismissing others' ideas. In this situation, remaining calm, focusing on listening, and simply refusing to feed into their need for attention makes a statement. It shows that their attempts to one-up us just don't work, because we're not here to compete. We're here to connect meaningfully. Chapter 2. Let silence speak. Moving on to the next point. The power of silence. I know it may sound unusual to think of silence as a response, but silence can be one of the most effective ways to address inflated egos. You see, people with big egos often crave attention and reactions. They want you to acknowledge their words, their achievements, even their exaggerated sense of self-importance. But what if, instead of reacting, you just listen quietly and don't give them the applause they expect? When we respond with calm silence or minimal acknowledgement, we're showing that we're not drawn into their performance. We're not feeding their need for validation. And that subtle choice can be disarming. It's as if their words just don't stick. They fall away because there's no reaction to hold on to. This approach requires a lot of inner strength, but it leaves you in control, showing that their ego can't affect you. Chapter 3. Use humor to disarm. Let's talk about humor for a moment. Have you ever been in a tense situation where a little humor changed the entire dynamic? Humor has a way of lightening the atmosphere, breaking down walls, and even deflating egos without confrontation. Imagine someone who's boasting endlessly about their accomplishments. Instead of rolling your eyes or feeling frustrated, imagine responding with a little lighthearted humor, maybe a small joke that gently pokes fun at the situation. Now, we're not talking about sarcasm or hurtful comments here. I'm talking about a playful, friendly response that shows you're not threatened by their words. By choosing humor, we deflate their need for validation in a subtle, non-threatening way. It's amazing how humor can quietly dismantle tension, all while keeping things respectful. Chapter 4. Set firm boundaries without drama. Now, our fourth point. Setting boundaries calmly and clearly. In today's world, setting boundaries can sometimes feel challenging, especially with people who are used to having their ego lead the way. Ego-driven people often push past others' comfort zones, thinking their needs or views should come first. But instead of getting angry or frustrated, we can calmly assert our boundaries. Let's say you're in a meeting or conversation where someone keeps interrupting or talking over you. A simple, calm statement like, "I'd like to finish my point," or "Let's give each person a chance to speak," can be incredibly effective. You're not raising your voice or creating drama. You're just making it clear that their ego won't overpower your right to be heard. Setting boundaries in this way also shows them that their ego doesn't control the conversation. It says, "I'm here, I have something valuable to contribute, and I expect the same respect I'm giving you." This subtle but firm approach sets a clear standard without adding tension to the situation. These first 4 steps are all about self-control, subtlety, and remaining true to our own values, regardless of others' ego-driven behavior. In a world that often promotes confrontation and competition, choosing calmness over drama can seem countercultural. But remember, staying calm doesn't mean we're being passive. It's actually a choice that requires incredible strength and control. With that foundation, I'd like to take a short pause and check in. How many of you can think of situations in your own lives where this calm approach might be useful? Reflecting on this can bring real-life situations to mind where these tools could work wonders. Chapter 5. Avoid comparisons and stay neutral. Now let's talk about one of the most effective techniques in our ego-deflating toolkit: avoiding comparisons. In today's society, we're all constantly exposed to comparison. Who has the best job, the most followers, the nicest house? But the truth is, comparison is fuel for ego. When we fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others, we're essentially inviting our own egos to grow in response. And the same goes for the people around us. If you're faced with someone who thrives on competition, try staying neutral. If they brag about their achievements or compare their success to yours, resist the urge to one-up them or to defend your own successes. Instead, acknowledge their accomplishment with grace and keep the focus away from yourself. A simple, "That sounds great," or "Good for you," without any additional comparisons, lets them know you're not here to compete. This approach can be surprisingly disarming, because it shows that their success or status doesn't impact your own sense of self-worth. Chapter 6. Practice empathy, not judgment. Let's move to the next principle: empathy over judgment. Here's a question. Have you ever considered that someone's arrogance might actually stem from insecurity? We tend to think of people with big egos as having overconfidence, but in many cases, they're covering up self-doubt, fear, or past wounds. When we understand that people act out of insecurity, we can start to feel empathy rather than irritation. Let's say you're dealing with someone who's constantly pushing their agenda or dismissing others. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, try seeing their behavior as a signal of their own inner challenges. By responding with calm empathy, perhaps even asking gentle questions about their ideas, we're showing that we don't see them as a threat. When we respond with understanding rather than defensiveness, it can create a safe space where they feel less need to assert themselves. This approach doesn't only help us stay calm, it also has the potential to soften the person's ego, even if only for that interaction. Chapter 7. Redirect the focus to ideas, not individuals. Our next strategy is a subtle yet highly effective one: redirecting the focus from individuals to ideas. Have you ever been in a meeting or conversation where one person seems determined to make every topic about themselves? Maybe they're pushing their own opinions or repeatedly drawing attention to their past achievements. In situations like this, one of the most graceful ways to deflate their ego is to shift the focus away from individuals and onto the bigger picture. Let's say someone insists that their method or idea is the best way forward. Instead of getting drawn into a debate about whose idea is better, you might say, "Let's focus on the goal here," or "Let's consider what's best for the team or project as a whole." By bringing the conversation back to shared goals or group benefits, you're gently reminding them that it's not about personal recognition. It's about what serves everyone best. This approach not only helps keep ego in check, but also promotes collaboration and teamwork. It's a reminder that when we focus on ideas rather than individuals, we're all able to contribute more meaningfully. Chapter 8. Lead with unshakable composure. And now we come to our 8th point: unshakable composure. In today's world, we're often bombarded with pressure to be reactive, to defend ourselves, or to prove our worth. But one of the strongest ways to deflate an ego-driven personality is simply by not reacting. Ego often seeks to provoke, to create a reaction that makes others feel unsettled. When we maintain composure, a sense of calm that remains steady regardless of others' behavior, it sends a powerful message: I am in control of my own state of mind. Imagine someone criticizing your ideas or trying to undermine your confidence. Responding with anger or defensiveness is exactly what they're hoping for. but by staying calm, taking a breath, and responding in a level-headed way. You're showing that they don't have the power to disrupt your peace. This approach requires a lot of inner strength. It's not always easy to remain calm when someone is testing your patience, but when we can do it, it sends a clear signal that we're operating from a place of inner strength, not external validation. And in many cases, our composure will subtly signal to the other person that their tactics aren't working. With these 4 strategies, we continue to see that deflating ego doesn't require confrontation or dramatic actions. Instead, it's about using subtlety, empathy, and strength to create an atmosphere where ego simply has no power. When we choose not to react, when we practice empathy, and when we remain focused on ideas over personalities, we create a space where egos, including our own, naturally soften. These are approaches that not only help us navigate ego-driven interactions with calm, but also keep us rooted in our own values. And as we practice them, we build our inner resilience, creating a life defined by genuine confidence, integrity, and peace. Let's remember that while others' egos may come and go, our own calmness and self-assurance are qualities that will always serve us well. Let's move into the final principles, each helping us maintain calm control in the face of others' ego-driven behaviors. Chapter 9. Embrace non-attachment to praise. Now, here's something to think about. Non-attachment to praise. In a world where recognition and social media validation have become so common, we can easily become attached to praise and external approval. But when we depend on praise to feel validated, we're setting ourselves up to compete with others for attention and admiration, which can also feed their ego. Instead, what if we practice something different? What if we aim to find contentment in our own actions and values, rather than in external praise? By choosing not to rely on others' validation, we become more self-assured. Imagine you've accomplished something great at work or achieved a personal milestone, and rather than expecting or needing praise, you simply feel fulfilled in the achievement itself. Others around you may notice this calm confidence, and it's likely they'll be drawn to it. Non-attachment to praise is a powerful practice. It sends a subtle message that our worth isn't based on how others see us, and it quietly encourages those around us to reflect on their own need for external validation. Chapter 10. Respond with kindness, not sarcasm. Next, let's talk about responding with kindness over sarcasm. It can be so tempting, right? When someone's bragging or putting on a show, a little sarcastic comment might feel like the perfect response. But think about it. Sarcasm often fuels an already tense or competitive atmosphere. It may feel satisfying in the moment, but it usually reinforces the very ego-driven behavior we're trying to avoid. Instead, responding with simple kindness has a unique way of disarming others. Imagine someone is boasting about their latest success, perhaps downplaying your contributions in the process. Instead of reacting with sarcasm, try a genuine response like, "That's great to hear." This kindness is unexpected, and it shows that their ego-driven behavior doesn't faze you. Kindness has a way of deflating inflated egos without conflict, because it shows you're unshaken, confident, and unthreatened. Chapter 11. Cultivate emotional resilience. Let's move on to a powerful tool for navigating ego, emotional resilience. This is the ability to remain calm and steady, no matter what's happening around us. People with big egos often rely on stirring up emotional reactions in others, whether that's awe, envy, or frustration. But when we cultivate emotional resilience, we deny their ego that power over us. Think about a time when someone was trying to provoke you or create drama. Instead of reacting, emotional resilience allows us to stay centered. If they try to show off or belittle others, your resilience makes it clear that their words hold no weight. It's like a force field, keeping others' egos from influencing your mood or reactions. Cultivating resilience takes practice, but it's one of the most effective ways to stay above the fray and maintain your own sense of peace. Chapter 12. Let actions speak louder than words. Finally, let's end with a timeless principle. Let actions speak louder than words. In a world where talk is often cheap and social media can create a false image of success, actions hold tremendous power. People with big egos are often more focused on broadcasting their accomplishments than actually putting in the effort. But when we let our actions speak, we're quietly leading by example. Imagine someone in your workplace who's constantly talking about their skills or achievements. Instead of joining in the talk, let your work speak for itself. When you approach things with integrity and dedication, people take notice. Leading with actions rather than words inspires others, and it shows that ego isn't a necessary ingredient for success. In fact, true success, the kind that's long-lasting and fulfilling, comes from sincerity and effort, not from self-promotion. These final points remind us that we can choose to rise above ego-driven behaviors, whether in ourselves or in others. When we find contentment in our own actions, rather than in external praise, respond with kindness rather than sarcasm, build emotional resilience, and let our actions do the talking, we're embodying a type of strength that is calm, steady, and deeply rooted. As we close this talk, I invite you to reflect on how these principles might transform your interactions. In a world that often glorifies ego, choosing a calm and humble approach is a radical act, one that has the power to quietly inspire those around you. Remember, it's not about crushing others' egos, but about showing that there's another way, a way that leads to true respect, peace, and inner strength. Thank you.